Recently, I've been blogging and making videos about blogs. Very meta, I know. So today I wanted to share an example of a book that started as a blog and became a successful nonfiction memoir. That is Crazy Aunt Purl's Drunk, Divorced, and Covered in Cat Hair by Laurie Perry, How to Go from Blog to Book. This book is just as funny and poignant as the title implies. And if you look at the blog and the book next to each other, it can help you figure out how to make that transition as well. This is Ignited Ink Writing, a channel dedicated to helping authors like you transform your writing so it lingers with your readers. Because writing that lingers gets remembered and recommended to others. I'm Caitlin Burvey, editor and writer. Let's start with going from blog post to book chapter. Perry's blog is called Crazy Aunt Purl, and it's more of a daily diary than an informational place. In it, she shares her daily antics and thoughts, and lots of pictures of her cats and knitting experiments. Plus, her posts are short. Many come in around 300 words. That's because these are a small snippet from her life, and they're very funny and successful. Here's an example of what one of her blog posts looks like. November 14th, 2008. Still breathing, still not smelling anything. Well, I'm not dead, just croaky. I haven't been this sick in a long time. Yesterday, I thought the tea bags were undulating, so apparently it's affecting my vision as well. I do have that sexy throaty voice thing going, where you think you sound like Kim Carnes singing Betty Davis Eyes, but really, you kind of sound like an 89-year-old male smoker. Tomato, tomato. This is an excellent example of a day-in-the-life style of blog and blog post. These serials can be wildly entertaining and very successful on the internet. Part of the reason why this works so well as a blog is because a blog doesn't have to deliver a message or center around a super specific theme. It can just be meant to give someone a quick, entertaining break from their day. That's what Perry's posts are designed to do. A book, however, is different. So when Perry went from her blog to her book, she had to change that tone a little bit, and she had to choose the posts that she decided to include carefully. A book needs an arc, a message, a lesson of some kind. People read a book to be entertained, just like a blog, but they also read to learn from someone else's experience. That means you need to pick the experiences that show a lesson you learned in your life. A book is meant to deliver more than a blog. That's why we pay for it. Perry understood this. So when she crafted her book, she chose posts that were related to her divorce and the hobby that would save her from her depression. So those were the themes that she was playing with in her book. She didn't just pick random posts and string them together. She also didn't just copy her blog posts and paste them directly into her book manuscript. She wrote more about those experiences and modified the language slightly to make it more formal while still keeping her humor and voice. Here's an example from Crazy Aunt Purl's Drunk, Divorced, and Covered in Cat Hair. Between Charlie's moving out and my eventual resettling into my own place, I was in limbo, suspended between my old life and what would become my new post-him life. The 3 months that followed can pretty much be summed up as easy as a math problem. If a woman, traveling at too many miles per hour toward her unforeseeable future, can drink X amounts of red wine out of a chipped coffee cup, will it be Patsy Cline or George Jones on the stereo at midnight? This beginning of a book chapter still has a day in the life of feel to it, but it also has a clear narrative component. The reference to limbo and her divorce tie this chapter into all of the other chapters of the book, because getting past her divorce is a central theme to Perry's book. Her book is about life's ups and downs and how she continued to grow as a person, while her blog is mostly just a day in the life of. It's a bit more random. A book should have more direction than a blog. So if you're going from a nonfiction blog to a nonfiction book, you need to do something similar. Pick a couple of themes or lessons that many of your posts or stories illustrate, and choose those as the ones that you include in your book. String them together in a way that illustrates that lesson or message or growth that you had. The rest of the stories can still live on your blog, or you can take them and create another book. But not everything is going to fit in your book, and it shouldn't. A book should have a clear narrative, so pick posts accordingly. Now that we kind of understand how Perry went from blog to book, I want to share the ways Perry made the mundane interesting. Perry's real talent lies in how she can make even the most mundane topic funny and interesting. Whether you're reading her blog or her book, you'll find her humor shining through. Normally, creative writing should avoid the mundane daily routines. The story happens before the evening routine or after it, not often during it. Perry is an exception because she uses those routines to show how she grows. In the beginning, her nightly routine represents her failure to get past her divorce and move on with her life. But later in the book, the way that routine has changed shows that she has grown and moved past that. Even more so than that, the mundane works for Perry because of her unique perspective. The way she perceives that task or that aspect of her life is so different that it's interesting. You want to know more about it because it's teaching you more about her. In previous videos, I've talked a lot about point of view and perspective. Perry's nonfiction book is an example of how perspective and worldview can really drive a story and can make it so much better than if that hadn't been there. If Perry hadn't put her own unique perspective and her personality into these mundane tasks, it would be super boring. The mundane is interesting because of the way Perry sees it. So here's an example. Commuting takes up so much of my time, yet secretly, there are nights when I'm completely happy to be a prisoner of the express bus, suspended between the demands of work and the responsibility of my house. My favorite nights are when the bus driver turns off the overhead fluorescent lights and everyone is silent. Some people are sleeping, and the bus is dark, and you can look out at the cars going by, totally enveloped in quiet suspension. All you hear is the soothing drone of the bus motor. This is what readers of nonfiction and fiction are looking for: your unique perspective. They want to know what you feel on that bus ride, what you focus on when you're looking out the window, what you choose to pay attention to. They want for a moment to step into your life, into your skin, and experience your experiences. This is one way that we learn. It's also way more entertaining. So your unique perspective is a part of what's going to make your book successful. That does mean you're going to have to be a little vulnerable when you're writing your book. That's okay. That's what your readers want. Whether you're writing about the mundane or something innately more interesting, remember to steep your writing in your worldview. That's what your book is all about. So now that you know how Perry makes the mundane interesting, I want to share why an editor recommends Crazy Aunt Purl's Drunk, Divorced, and Covered in Cat Hair. Perry's book is funny. The way she describes her divorce and depression will make you laugh out loud. This could have easily been sad and depressing and difficult to read, but her worldview and the way she took her experiences in stride makes this book lighthearted almost. And going through a divorce or a breakup or the end of something is an emotion and experience most readers can relate to. In this way, it's a universal theme. So almost everyone is going to find some connection to Perry. But more importantly, if you are going from a nonfiction blog to a book, take a look at Perry's book and her blog to see which blog posts she decided to include in her book, which ones she combined into chapters, which ones she expanded on. So that way you can get a better sense of how you might do that for your own blog and book. Then also pay attention to how she includes so much of her worldview and perspective in her writing. That's what readers of memoir in particular really want. So be sure and give that to your readers. Give them you, your personality, your worldview. Also, remember a blog is much bigger than a book. You have more space to include different aspects of your life in your blog than you do in a book. So don't be afraid to cut certain things out if they're not applying to the theme you have chosen. And remember, you can always turn your blog into more than one book if you feel like you need to. What other changes did you notice when Perry went from blog to book? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And for more videos on blogging and other aspects of writing, subscribe to Ignited Ink Writing, a channel dedicated to helping authors like you transform your writing so it lingers with your readers. Because writing that lingers gets remembered and recommended to others. I'm Caitlin Burvey, editor and writer. To find out more about me, go to www.ignitedinkwriting.com. There you will also find a submission checklist that will help you figure out how to get your book published after you're done with it. And now it's your turn to learn from Perry, to choose blog posts that are centered around a theme and include your worldview when writing your nonfiction book to ignite your ink.